Good afternoon and welcome to the City Club of Portland's Friday Forum, Oregon's premier public affairs forum. I'm Sue Thomas, president of City Club, and I welcome you all. Those of you here at the Governor Hotel, and those of you listening on OPB or KPBS radio or watching on cable television. Thank you for joining us for this week's Friday Forum on the 17th of July, 2009. Today we welcome Preston Pulliams, District President of Portland Community College, who will discuss the goals and future of Portland's largest and most diverse institution of higher education. But first, some announcements. In consideration of those sitting close to you and those in our radio and television audiences, I ask that everyone in the room please silence your cell phones and other devices that make noise. Thank you. As always, we offer our appreciation to our Friday Forum corporate sponsors for this quarter, without whose generous financial support, these time-honored City Club Friday Forum luncheons would not be possible. Our corporate sponsor for this quarter are the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the law firm of Stoll Rees. Please join me in thanking our sponsors. If your company or firm would like to sponsor a Friday Forum, please contact the City Club staff at the back of the room or call the City Club office. City Club's popular Citizen Salon Dinner and Discussion series with intimate meals and informed discussions on a wide variety of topics. On August 5th, City Club New Leaders Council is pleased to offer a reduced-price salon entitled Beervana Make Your Own Microbrew. To register for this and other upcoming salons, please go to the City Club website. I think it should be a lot of fun. Also coming up is a tour of Memorial Coliseum with new leaders on July 21st. AGRA's final discussion about human trafficking on July 23rd, and the Citizens Read Book Group on July 29th. To learn more about all of these events, please contact the City Club's website. Next week on July 24th, please join City Club for an address by Aaron Flynn, Economic Development Director for Portland Development Commission, who will explain the city's 5-year plan to grow the economy, create jobs, and sustain the quality of life that Portland residents enjoy. Now on to today's program. Portland Community College is Oregon's most diverse institution of higher education. It is diverse not only in race, but also in its student body, which includes recent high school graduates, military veterans, and parents returning to school. These diverse populations have distinct needs that range from technical training to college prep classes. PCC is also the largest college in the region with a combined campus acreage that is roughly the size of Rhode Island. Additionally, a recent 18% enrollment increase brought registration to more than 35,000 students. Today, our speaker will address how Portland Community College can address the needs of the community today and into the future. Today's speaker is the first generation in his family to attend college. He received his initial degree from Muskegon Community College in Michigan and eventually went on to receive a doctoral in education administration from the University of Michigan. He has taught at the junior high school, undergraduate, and graduate levels. Widely published, he has done extensive research and writing on student achievement, minority student success, and counseling at the community college level. Today's speaker has served in various roles at community colleges in the Midwest and the Northeast, including time as Vice Chancellor at the community colleges for the State University of New York. In 2004, he moved to Portland and assumed his current role as 5th District President for Portland Community College. Please help me in welcoming today's speaker, Dr. Preston Pulliams.
Well, first of all, good afternoon. Thank you, Sue, for that introduction. I really feel honored to have the opportunity to share some comments with all of you this afternoon about something that's near and dear to my heart in terms of my work with community college, Portland Community College, but a bigger issue about access to higher education. And I want to share with you a personal story in a few minutes, and it's my story about many of the profiles of students we serve at Portland Community College. I do want to just recognize I have my posse here with me from Portland Community College. I just want to thank some staff members for coming out to support me in this effort. Also do want to do a brief introduction of two individuals. Jim Harper, a member of our board, is here. Jim, raise your hand. Please recognize Jim Harper. And the president of our foundation board that's doing a wonderful job of raising scholarship money for providing access for our students of higher education. Betty DeVol is here. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you, Betty, for coming out. Now, I see one of my partners in crime here. We serve together on the State Board of Higher Education, Jim Franciscone, and we're always pushing for access. Jim, raise your hand. Give him a round of applause. Appreciate your help and your support for PCC. Now, I do have an issue with Jim. I don't know about the rest of you. He's a longtime community member and he does a lot of great work, but I have one particular problem with him. We hooked up when I first arrived here in Portland, and we both played golf together. We're golf partners, and my particular issue with him, we played together maybe a dozen times, and I felt that I was really, doing great, but in the end, he'd always beat me. And my issue, I bought a new driver, he still beat me. I bought a new putter, he still beat me. I took some lessons, and he still beat me. But I did make one change that caused me to now be on a winning streak. I began keeping score. Once I did that, seemed like things began to work out for me. I want to set a personal context in terms of my remarks, as I said earlier. There's something I hope you indulge me in, and I want to read this because it's part of my story, because I am a community college graduate, and I feel I represent kind of a story that many of our students have. It's something that I pulled from writing called John Henry. And it goes as follows, just several stanzas here. John Henry said to his captain, "A man is nothing but a man. But before I let your steel drill beat me down, I'll die with a hammer in my hand. Lord, Lord, I'll die with a hammer in my hand." The man that invented the steam drill, he figured me mighty high and fine. But John Henry sunk the steel down 14 feet while the drill only made 9. Lord, Lord, the steam drill only made 9. John Henry hammered on the right side and the drill kept driving on the left. John Henry beat that drill down, but he hammered his poor heart to death. Lord, Lord, he hammered his poor heart to death. Well, they carried John Henry down the tunnel and they laid his body in the sand. Now every woman riding on the C&O train says, "There lies my steel driving man, Lord, Lord. There lies my steel driving man." Whenever I hear these stanzas or read these stanzas, I think of my father, Mosley Pulliams. He was a working man. He was a steel driving man. He was a man's man. He was built 6'3". He kind of reminds me, as I think about him now, like a modern day linebacker in the NFL. He was a Mississippi farmhand. He served in World War II in North Africa. He moved north after the war, as many blacks did, seeking a better life in the north. He relocated in western Michigan, where he married my mom, Betty. He secured a factory job. As a matter of fact, he secured a number of extra jobs to help keep us together financially. I was the firstborn of eventually 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. There are 4 things I remember most about him. One is a tremendous work ethic, a love for his family, and the fact, and he always talked about this, he never ever received truly a formal education. And he always felt that was part of him that was missing. He believed that education was the door to opportunity. And he invented something for his 3 sons and his 3 daughters, mostly his sons, that reverts to a form of punishment that we talk about today. Have you heard the term timeout in terms of how you may punish someone who may not be behaving correctly? My wife uses this process or this term. but he had a little different spin on the process. It worked like this. When we got in trouble, he would spank us until he got exhausted. He'd take time out, and then he would complete the spanking. He unfortunately died at the age of 63 of a massive heart attack. In June of 1982, he came home after working a double shift at the factory, and he simply passed away. But he passed a dream to me and to all of us about how important it was to complete your education. He did live to see me finish high school and college. And I remember on my high school graduation day, and he had his best Sunday to go to meeting suit on, and we were standing in the living room getting ready to go to the ceremony. And I noticed, I mean, it's a man's man, but I noticed tears in his eyes. And he said, well, we made it. We finally made it. I said, what's this we stuff? I did all the homework. What's this all about? But I knew how proud he was. I knew he was supporting me. Now, I had my challenges while in high school. As any adolescent, I had my ideas about what life in the future should be like. And for young black boys in Western Michigan in those days, my dream was to be an NFL running back like Jim Brown or the Cleveland Browns, or to be one of the mighty Temptations in the Motown music business. Now, I had an issue. I couldn't sing a lick. But I thought, wow, what a way. And so I was going through these adolescent kinds of things, and the primary target was to be cool. You didn't want to do anything that your buddies saw you as not cool. And so I remember one night I was supposed to be at home. My father had a very simple curfew rule for us in those days. You didn't need a watch or a time or anything. When the sun goes down, you're at home. That was his rule for us. Well, I violated that. Now, my dad believed in saving money. We didn't have a lot, and we had a car, but he bought at some garage sale this old three-speed English bicycle. And he would pedal around the community. Now, can you imagine how much cool factor I lost in the black community and my father, 6'3", riding a three-speed English bicycle? I remember hanging out with my friends, and I could see this figure coming at me on a bicycle. That was Preston Pulliams. He was looking for his oldest son. I moved on home. I went home, and I knew I was in trouble, and we had what Moles call a family meeting. The family really wasn't there. It was just the two of us. We were in the basement. There was polite discussion in the beginning, but things happened, and all I'll tell you the end of is that I came out of that basement a new man. I knew that he was serious about me finishing school. I knew that it was important to him, and in some way I knew he loved me and it would be important for me. You see, my problem in high school, I was one of those invisible students. You know, the ones who don't get all the A's, or they're not the star athletes, or they're not in student government, they're not involved in all the extracurricular activities. Those students from whom there are few expectations. And my situation in that time and in that place was complicated by the thought that African American boys should probably not finish high school and probably end up working in the local gray iron foundries or factories like my dad did. So I was fortunate to have the support. I finished high school. I didn't have the grades to attend any of the state universities, but thanks to a Rotary Club scholarship, bought me 2 years, and it was given to someone with potential, not high grades. And if you look in the dictionary at that time under potential, my picture was there, all right? I was singled out, got a 2-year scholarship to my local community college for $600. That included books. That was a break that really determined the rest of my life, because I discovered my place there at that community college because of the smaller classes, the mentoring, the support I got from my teachers and counselors, and I began to believe that I had potential to achieve academically. I realized I had indeed found a home for myself at that community college. So I went on, finished there, went to Michigan State University, came back and taught at that community college, and also served as a counselor where I got to interact with many of those students that had similar profiles to me in terms of being that invisible student. My experience provided me with a firsthand understanding of what community colleges were all about, the foundation of our mission to access higher education for often for those who have no other choice. The other part of the story is that my two brothers and sisters, without the benefit of the family meeting, also finished at that community college and went on to State University and all returned to the community as educators and two nurses. And so my dad lived to see that before he died, and he was very proud of it, very proud. I'd like to share an African parable with you that demonstrates for me or will open a discussion, I think, about the challenges we face in higher education, certainly at Portland Community College. And it goes as follows. On the African savanna, when the sun rises, the gazelle wakes up and must think about outrunning the fastest lion to prevent becoming a meal. Meanwhile, the lion wakes up and thinks about outrunning the slowest gazelle so he can eat. The point is that they both must wake up every morning running. And that's how we feel often at Portland Community College or in higher education here in Oregon. Why are we running? Well, for the past 6 years, the state investment in higher ed has been reduced. And we know there are challenges, and we know there are issues regarding the economy. But at the same time, we strongly feel that this should be a real priority for us. Increased costs of books and childcare and gasoline all impacts, particularly our low-income students, about their ability to access higher education. Another challenge is that more students are coming to community colleges, and they're challenged by the inability to do college work, college-level work. As a matter of fact, our research tells us about 35% of students we enter on the college programs must take some type of developmental coursework. This region is growing in population, and that's putting more pressure on us for more services and more courses at a time when we're losing resources. The current recession alone has increased our enrollment this summer 28%. This fall, we expect another 20% increase. Last session, we had a 17% increase. People are looking for a place to connect, to ride this out, to have opportunity. I arrived in Portland some 5 years ago to assume my current position as president of Portland Community College. I'm heading a wonderful organization, and we serve, and 1 year this year, we'll serve individually, unduplicated headcount of about 91,000 students, including all our credit and non-credit courses, in a 5-county area. Our college has 3 campuses, 1 large center, 42 sites around our district here. We have about 4,000 full and part-time staff members and faculties, all committed to serving the community and carrying out my mission. My wife and daughter moved here with me. I do have an issue. My daughter's 31. She still lives with me. I want her to move out, but that's another program. How did that happen? Anyway, we have fallen in love with this region. It's a beautiful place. Rivers, the coast, the mountains. We love the people, the culture, the social life. We are blessed with wonderful careers and ever-expanding opportunities here. We are living, indeed, the American dream. For us, Portland is a place of possibilities, a real can-do spirit here. But there is also another Portland. The increasing poverty levels and unemployment rates approaching 5%, one of the highest in the nation, are the foundations for that other Portland. Those who are living on the margins in the other Portland worry about when their children leave for school in the morning, about the possibility that they might be a victim of crime or violence. The other Portland is represented by children who have little or no hope for the future. They have little hope of completing school. They have no safe place after school while their parents work. They may live in a single-parent home, struggling to pay their bills each week for the basic essentials of life. These children's minds are preoccupied with death and illness because of inadequate health care, the possibility of gang warfare in their neighborhoods, and the loss of friends through these issues, when instead they should be planning about attending the prom or dating or thinking about a future with a wonderful possibility here in Portland. We must always remember and understand that poverty is insidious as we examine what it happens to the mind of our young, poor children. Dr. Donna Beagle, educator here, writes about educating students from poverty. And one of her premises deals with students' concepts that they develop about success, about educators, about teachers. It goes as follows. For the middle-income student, the concept of success means something attainable with hard work. For poor student, the concept means something unattainable or limited to people who have a lot of luck. For the concept education for middle-income students means achievement, success, opportunities. For poor students, the concept means those people, not people like me, and along with it, a lot of stress. And finally, for me, the most insightful for middle-income students, the concept of teacher means a role model, someone who can help you. But the poor student means the enemy. Don't like people like me. Makes me feel unwanted and stupid. Dr. Cornel West, in his book, Hope on a Tightrope, uses the term, the need for deep education. And he writes, to be truly educated, you need a sense of history and a courage to examine yourself and the world. You also need to have direct access to examples. You need to hang around people who are grand examples of greatness, who exercise wise judgment. In other words, education is more than skill development and reading and writing and arithmetic. It's also developing a sense of yourself. And I really strongly feel that if educators, or we in public education, are going to be successful with everyone, these fundamental cultural differences must be recognized and addressed. The mission of Portland Community College, for me, is very simple. We have it in the catalogs and we have it in our brochures, but basically it means to me, what can we do to bring these two Portlands together? By providing access to higher education, and to thousands each and every day, a gateway to education and training for a diverse student population. Workforce development is another part of the college's mission. The college currently serves as a first responder in this recession. Many people are coming to us at these times, and there's an irony here in terms of what's happening, in terms of the loss of jobs, in terms of loss of opportunities across the community. To demonstrate, there's a story that about a guy who went to his doctor for a checkup. And the doctor said to him, you know, you have a problem. He says, it's serious. That's the bad news. But the good news is that we can take care of it. As a matter of fact, my colleague, a specialist next door, specializes in this problem. I want you to go over, make an appointment with him so he can set up a time to take care of this. And so the guy very anxiously left his doctor's office, went across the way, and met with the appointment person in the other doctor's specialist office. And he says he explained the situation. He had to see the specialist, and she looked at her appointment book. She says, we do have an opening for you. It's 5 years from now. It's 9 a.m. Thursday, July 2014. And he says, this is really serious, but I can't make that appointment. She says, well, why not? He says, that's when my plumber's coming. The irony here is that there are job opportunities. There are opportunities for those who are adequately prepared for what we refer to as middle-skilled workers. There are great opportunities in healthcare, nursing, welding, wind farm technicians, high-tech automotive repair persons. There's opportunity there. Our successful Bond 2008 bond measure will allow Portland Community College to respond to these challenges of the recession and our growth and our potential. Over the next 2 to 4 years, we will be able to accommodate 20,000 extra students. This will allow us to build 80 new labs, 8 new buildings, expand our Rock Creek campus, expand our Cascade campus, purchase and renovate the Willamette building downtown, create a new comprehensive campus in the southeast part of Portland, build and open new centers in Washington County, Columbia County, Yamhill County. We are working to meet that need. We're increasing our distance learning programs and classes, our rapid response team to laid off workers, bridge programs to healthcare careers, new customized workplace initiatives. We are partnering with Work Systems, Inc. and Mount Hood Community College to develop 14 professional and technical career pathway programs, 7 new vocational ESL programs, training programs. These innovative efforts also is part of redesigning our curriculum to give shorter segments of training so people can get in the classroom and then get out and get to work in these high-demand occupations. We're moving forward also in the emerging green technology jobs that are expanding. We're offering training in renewable energy, transportation, manufacturing, sustainable building. We're training, for example, a program to create more building inspectors to evaluate a building's greenness, as well as classes on environmental monitoring and managing. I suggest you read a book, if you haven't, called The Green Collar Economy, which kind of sets the course by Van Jones. And for me, he makes a great point in terms of our need for sustainability. But his main motto is, nothing stops a bullet like a job, because he is referring to this need we have in our society and in this area of providing those on the margin with meaningful occupations and jobs and endeavors and activities. He writes that we recycle paper and plastic and glass, and we also need to recycle neighborhoods and individuals. His premise is that we can, by intersecting the social need and social ill with our need to sustain and change and save the economy and environment, that we can come to one great opportunity for many, many individuals. We're also partnering a lot with local high schools. We have, at any given time, about 5,200 high school students taking courses at PCC for various programs, advanced, GED, other types of programs. But we work and commit ourselves to continuing partnering with our local high schools, which are challenged by also funding and also other issues. But we'd like to provide opportunities for dual career courses, implementing what we call our middle college program. Students in the high school are taking college courses, and our Gateway to College program, where we recruit dropouts from high schools and work with them to try to build success. Through PCC Center for Business Industry, we're providing comprehensive training, continuing education, and pre-employment services. The center also provides consulting and customized business solutions, especially focusing on small businesses. As I close my remarks about my passion, PCC, and access to higher education, some facts I just want to let you think about. According to national statistics, 75% of all new job growth requires some level of post-high school training. Therefore, if you don't have some college coursework, you're not going to be competitive in this 21st century workforce. 2, the impact of the rapidly changing job market is affecting all of us and all of our students in terms of preparing them. The former Secretary of Education, Richard Riley, just recently said, none of the top 10 jobs today existed 10 years ago. Also, the average person will have, starting careers today, will have 10 to 14 different careers. The average job will only last 3 to 5 years. Too few students here and across this country are truly prepared to be competitive in this ever-changing job market. Meanwhile, the pace of that change, by the way, is speeding up. Our Oregonians are not prepared for these marketplace skills. As a matter of fact, the younger generations, Oregonians, are not as well educated as the current baby boom generation. Not enough of them are accessing higher education or going on with their educational programs. Also, this state ranks 45th among the 50 states for the ability of families to pay for the cost of a college education. Therefore, it is absolutely critical that we focus on the mission of making higher education accessible to all, including low and middle income families and students. We must do everything we can. At PCC, we understand the challenge of affordability. Our foundation is on the forefront of attempting to raise even more dollars for precious scholarships. I have a personal goal, and I keep talking to staff about it, and we're going to see this through. I think we should work as hard as we can to raise enough money so that no one would be turned away from PCC because of financial circumstances. That's my goal. That's my personal goal. That's my personal commitment to this mission. We had a record year, by the way, for fundraising. I'm very proud of it. Our staff and faculty stepped up and increased their giving to a point where we brought in lots of extra dollars for more scholarships for those extra students. We've had some wonderful partners in our effort. The Oregon Community Foundation, for example, has given us scholarship money. The Miller Foundation has provided us with a challenge grant to raise additional scholarship dollars. We met that, by the way, last year, and they're renewing that pledge this year. But let me tell you, there is still unmet need. We know that sometimes as little as $500 can make a difference to whether a student stays in school, completes their coursework and their degrees. Now, I have a bigger idea on this access business. I dream of something called the Oregon Promise. I believe we need some moments of audacity to face up to this issue. I have proposed and talked about this matter as a matter of public policy for the state and this region, to commit to guarantee 2 years, at least 2 years of college education to all those students here who are successfully graduating from high school. Now, I don't want this program or this idea to be what I call a three-legged chicken idea. Have you ever heard of that story in terms of a three-legged chicken? There was a guy who bought a new Corvette sports car, and he was driving on a little country road. And he was pretty proud of this. I think he had about 600 horses in this thing. Fire red, he was proud of this. But he noticed that on the left side, on the driver's side, there was a chicken was running along the road and keeping up with him. He's doing 90 miles an hour, this chicken's right with him. So he says, okay, I got 600 horses here, that's a chicken. So he put his foot in it. Now he's doing 120, the chicken's right with him. As a matter of fact, the chicken pulled right off and left him. And this guy said, what is going on? And he noticed the chicken went into a little farmyard up the road. And so this guy, I got to find out what's going on. So he pulls into the farmyard, and he noticed another strange thing. There's a whole farmyard of these three-legged chickens. And so he notices a farmer standing on the front porch, and so he gets out of his 600 horsepower fire red Corvette. He goes up to the farm. He says, what's going on here? He says, well, young man, he says, I have 3 sons, and they all love chicken, and they all love drumsticks. So I found out a way to create three-legged chickens. And so the guy said, well, that's really something. He says, well, what do they taste like? And the farmer says, we don't know. We can't catch them. A good idea that looks good and is absolutely meaningless. That's not what I want here in this access proposal. You're still getting the chicken joke. Anyway, that's not what I want here. I want a proposal that's meaningful, something doable, but I think with some partnerships we can get there. As a matter of fact, I understand that the City Club offers perhaps student opportunities or opportunities to participate in citizen-led research or advocacy. I'd like to seek the City Club's advice or support or discussion of this effort in some way. As I close, I just simply want to thank you for your attention and this wonderful opportunity to talk about my passion, my life, and my mission. And I'd like to close with a quote from a role model of mine, President Obama, who stated that this is indeed a transitional moment for all of us. We are in a values crisis. We need to remake this nation's fabric. We need to focus on the values of caring for each other, love for each other, and hope for everybody. Thank you very much. I guess there are questions.
The first question for our speaker will be from our Board of Governors host. Today, our board host is Leslie Moorhead. Leslie is a consultant providing financial management services for small businesses. She joined City Club in 1978, served on the research board from 2002 to 2008, and is currently the secretary of the Board of Governors. Leslie?
Thank you, Sue. Dr. Pulliams, you mentioned your budget challenges and your sources of funding, so I'll ask you this question. The Oregon legislature just passed a budget that includes increased taxes on businesses and high-income individuals. And now we hear that some prominent business groups will try to overturn those tax increases at the ballot box soon. Obviously, not having this revenue in the state's general fund for the next couple of years would impact education funding at all levels, including higher education. From your point of view, first of all, what would be the impact of that on the Portland Community College system? And secondly, what is your best argument for persuading business groups and others to not fight to reject this increased income for the state?
Well, first of all, there will be a very critical impact on us in higher education at Portland Community College. Because of the recession, we understand the legislature has to make some pretty tough calls. I'm glad that I'm not in their shoes regarding this. But I think it's absolutely critical that we keep in mind that it's not just about higher education or education, but there's a connector here. There's a foundation here. This serves, education, higher education serves as a foundation for a trained workforce, for a better life. So this is not just simply a segment of we're funding this particular segment, but it's about an entire quality of life question for me and a better life for many, and many of those on the margins. That's my argument for why we should support education as much as we can. How will it impact PCC? We took a 10% hit. It means we're offering larger classes now. We're offering fewer options in terms of places, times, variety of our coursework. It meant no raises, no cost of living raises. It meant that we simply had to be more effective and more efficient. At the same time, I think I look at these types of things as opportunities also. I think crises perhaps bring out the best in terms of creative, innovative work. And so now is the time for more partnerships. Now is the time that we figure out how to work together. As I said on the State Board of Higher Ed with Jim Francisconi. And we have some great models of partnerships here in higher education. I know there are some people, friends here from Portland State University. PCC and Portland State University have a magnificent partnership. I'd like to see this duplicated over the whole state in terms of relationships between community colleges and others of our state universities, sister institutions. I think it's important that we learn to work together, that we be more efficient in the education sector, the public sector. But bottom line, we must, I think we started behind the 8 ball in the first place. I arrived 5 years ago. I noticed the difference between, I worked in Pennsylvania, I worked in New York as a president, I worked in Michigan as a president some years ago. And I kind of compare per capita the funding in terms of for equipment and for building. And we're not competitive here in Oregon for a number of reasons. So we have a long way to go in the challenge facing us. But my sense is that there's a lot of commitment, there's a lot of belief in this, and I'm hearing more and more in terms of people trying to figure out how can we make this a better situation for all of us. So, but that's my stated argument regarding that.
We'll now take questions from the floor. Asking questions is a privilege of City Club membership. We encourage all of our members to take their turn at the podium, so especially those of you who've never done so, we encourage you to do that. When you ask your question, please identify yourself as a City Club member and limit your question to 30 seconds or less.
Hello, I'm Leslie Hildula, a member, and congratulations on the bond measure campaign. That was really something. I grew up in Clatskanie, Columbia County, and I'm been struck by the various sites that PCC has. And how do you decide where you expand to, where you open up new facilities? And given the reach outside of Multnomah County, have you thought about changing the name of the organization?
Well, let's deal with the name change. I have already recommended that we call it Pulliams Community College. That, I don't think the board, Jim, did the board vote that through yet? Not yet, huh? I'm still trying. To be serious about it, no, I have not thought about that. It was a 2-year planning process for that bond. We had to campaign really hard. We had a lot of support, but it took 2 years of real strategic internal planning, institutional research. Several things determined this. We were trying to follow the population growth patterns, and we also looked at the transportation planning for our district. And so we tried to plan along those transportation lines and where we were projecting a great amount of growth. And I think we will hit the mark in terms of this as we follow up now. We have a wonderful project. We work with TriMet, where, again, with sustainability also in mind, in terms of people getting in the cars, coming to us. You know, there's a new innovation in education, and we're just figuring this out in terms of education is no longer place-bound, quite honestly. I mean, we're going to increase the number of students taking distance learning classes this year by 25%. I mean, that's people that don't come to campus. And I think we have to be really smart about doing more of that, and we're also investing some of our bond campaign money to do that. But that on Baseline Road and 185th in Washington County is built on the train line there, the Mac line, and it's a partnership as a university center, as a workforce center, and also a college classrooms. I think the key in the answer for the future, the challenges we face, is careful strategic planning and commitment in terms of being as innovative as possible.
Jim Zarin, City Club member. One of the statistics I don't think you gave in your remarks was state support for higher ed compared to other states, and I don't know what the latest numbers are, but I think we're the low 40s amongst the various states. And I guess I'm wondering if you could help some of us who worry about that understand what really is going on here compared to other states. Is it that we spend a lower percentage of our general fund monies on higher ed here compared to other states? Is it that they just have a bigger pie to slice up? Or what is it that you and Jim Francisconi and other people at Board of Higher Education say about yourselves and what we need to do if we really are serious to get caught up with other states? Because many of us just shake our heads when we hear those statistics and wonder why we're so low.
Well, again, and this is not certainly my area in terms of expertise in terms of tax policy. My suspicion, though, from what I've seen in time in New York and time on the East Coast, is that the pot isn't large enough. Now, how do you get there is probably the issue. I think it certainly has something to do with tax policy. For example, when you look at the number of students who leave high school in Oregon, graduate, and go on to higher education, and you find that we're also in the lower 25% across the country. In New York, they're in the upper 25%. You know, the one difference there is that per capita, they invest 4 times what we do in terms of their state grant program. In other words, so when kids get out of high school, they do have some additional sources of support financially. That also says a lot in terms of that commitment in New York. So I think it's a combination in terms of pot is not large enough, and I think we have to talk about strategic conversation. How do we get there, that pot larger? And I think there's also some activities that we have to pay pretty close attention to. Unfortunately, because of the current recession, we cut our state grant program. It's called a Shared Responsibility Opportunity Grant. We increased that. I think we almost doubled the amount of dollars in that fund in the last biennium. That directly caused an increase in college enrollment in this state. I forgot what those numbers are, but it was an impact. People were coming to us. This was part of that big idea that is encouraging people to go to college. So I think we're going to really, first of all, establish higher education, public education with a higher priority, and then get together and figure out how we make the pot bigger.
Adam Neff, City Club member. One of the keys to ensuring student success is the support provided by a sense of community at your university or college. This is especially important with first-generation students, non-traditional college students. Portland State has a lot of difficulty with this because it is a commuter campus. I imagine that you have much more difficulty with numerous places of learning. Are there any programs geared specifically towards creating a sense of community at PCC?
Could you, what was it? I'm sorry, I have trouble hearing you.
Oh, okay. Oh, I have to go right into the mic.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you.
Okay. Sense of community is very important for ensuring long-term student success. And are there any specific programs at PCC that are geared towards creating a sense of community?
A sense of community?
Yeah, student community, yes.
A student community, or well, let me tell you in terms of this. Here's what I've discovered in this. You know, and I've been working as a counselor, taught school, and started in 1972. So I work with students. We have a phenomenal program at Portland Community College called our Gateway to College, where we got some funding from the Gates Foundation to create a situation to breed or create more student success. You know, the population that we tackled on that program was students who had dropped out of high school. We didn't want the all-A students, we didn't want the honor students, we didn't want those real motivated students about completing high school. We wanted the ones who were no longer in high school. And guess what we learned from this program? It's really fascinating. When we recruited those students who had dropped out for a number of reasons, and they told us, by the way, what we discovered is that several things happened because we have a phenomenal success rate with those students. What was the difference between their experience in high school and their experience at a college campus? Several things happened. One, high schools can be wonderful experiences and instruments for our education, but let me say about 20% of the students enrolled in high school are not fitting in. There's an issue there in terms of, it's not ability, it's not cognitive or brain power. It's social personal issues. It's peer group issues. It's issues that they bring from home to the classroom. And so what we were able to do with that money from the Gates Foundation was put a person on staff that dealt with those personal issues. The sense of belonging, the sense that I'm a person of not any worth, those kind of soft issues, and it made a tremendous difference in terms of their experience. There is another important factor, and I think it often happened with me when I was in school. When you place a person in on a college campus or in a classroom out of high school, dropped out of high school, there's an instant change in the environment in terms of expectation about what's expected in performance. And that can, I think, also make a big difference. So these are some of the kind of issues we're trying to tackle in sense of a sense of community, because let me tell you, there are a lot of students in situations that could probably be pretty successful given the challenges in the classroom, but there are also these personal issues that must be addressed.
Will Dan, City Club member. I appreciate in working with you over the years the way that you reach out to the students, both in the neighborhoods, but also to reach those students that are not connected to higher education initially. Today in the New York Times, David Brooks wrote an article about a new initiative the Obama administration is putting out to help specifically community colleges. And the emphasis seems to be less on building buildings and less on tuition support and more on innovative ways of engaging students who are otherwise disenfranchised. I wanted to ask you if you've begun to think about how you might access this new initiative and how that fits within your overall plan.
Well, the answer is, first of all, we're very excited about that initiative. We have an insider in the White House, working with President Obama. The Vice President's wife taught community college Delaware in the state of Delaware, his home state. And Vice President Biden is a big supporter of ours. I think he's smart enough to listen to his wife, for one thing. And as a result of that, we're getting a lot of play now. It's fun to see that going on. The real deal, though, is that the Obama administration is singling community colleges out as one of the answers for providing job training to bring us out of this recession, to put people back to work. And that's something that we feel very excited about, and we're focusing on how we can do that. I understand they have not worked out the details in terms of the program, but it is geared toward innovation. It's not going to be dollars for the same old buildings or the same old programs. What I'm guessing, and I would like to take the challenge on, is to access these dollars to be more innovative in terms of it. For example, I talked about the pathway program. I mean, you know, we in higher education sometimes get caught up in a phenomena, and I'm talking about myself now, so I understand this, of where we're rushing into the 16th century in terms of how we look at things. Oh, you understand that? What I mean is that we also get caught up in the status quo. That a semester must be 15 weeks, that a term must be 10 weeks, that a class must be, we have got to break some of it because it's not working in some of these other cases. I talked about the pathway program, a program where a typical two-year program can be broken into 6-week chunks where you put a student in the classroom for 6 weeks and put them on a job for 6 weeks where they earn money, so they can help pay for the education. The company's glad to get them because they're training someone and they're investing in internships, so it's a win for everybody. But we still not doing enough of these kinds of programs, and so I'm hoping the dollars from the Obama administration will help us direct and do some of those things. Thank you.
Kurt Wabering, member. Let's see, you mentioned the partnership with PSU. And could you talk a little bit more about your expectations and concepts around completion of a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts degree? In other words, going from a 2-year to it's your graduates going from a 2-year to a 4-year educational experience.
Sure. Well, let me talk about a wonderful partnership with PSU and kind of where that's headed. And where we like to see it go. A couple of years ago, we got together, and actually we were running to catch up. We have some phenomena in higher education called swirling students. I don't know if you've heard of that before. These are students who come and enroll at PCC for certain courses and go to PSU for other courses and enroll in Mount Hood Community College because those courses are offered at. You see, what we've got to figure out is that many of our students today are part-time students but full-time workers, family members. There are other obligations out there, but yet we often offer things in the same old format. And so we've got to be more creative about this. So I got together within the President Bernstein with PSU and some of the other community college presidents, and we created what we call the Metro Consortium. And the idea of this consortium for the Portland area was if a student was enrolled at PCC, they were also a student at PSU, they were also a student at Mount Hood Community College. I mean, it made all the sense in the world in terms of tracking these students and supporting them, to give them the kind of experience they need at the time they need them, to give them a greater breadth of options, because often it's time commitments and other commitments that get in the way. I'd like to see us continue working on this and to get to a point where we all understand that student A enters, and this is how PSU supports the student financially. This is how we support it counseling. This is how Mount Hood supports student activities, where we really are working as a unit, you know, not officially the same organization, but working closer together. Because one of the things I'm afraid of is that we got this credit creep where it takes students longer and longer to finish programs. I think we need to collapse that some.
Greg McPherson, City Club member. As a former legislator, I've observed that the dollars tend to flow in our state to those services that have the strongest advocacy. Have you thought about how to motivate and mobilize the students and their families more effectively to advocate for higher education in Oregon?
Well, again, let me thank you for your public service and your work in the legislature, and you are certainly continue to be a real friend to education, public education, and certainly to community colleges. That's the key. You're right in terms of our current. We've talked about expanding the pot, but until that happens, we've got to get even smarter in terms of how we advocate. for ourselves to tell our story, because that's the process. We've got to get more aggressive and more proactive in that. The last couple of years, I think we have changed the way we went about that. For example, I know when I arrive in Salem at the Capitol, you know what I'm going to say. As president of PCC, I represent the institution. That's my job, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you also know I'm passionate, but it's much more effective when we have students show up. And so what we worked this last session, we had a lot of advocating students, and we organized them. I think that's part of the reason we got cut only 10%, to be quite honest. I think it saved us in other ways. I think this advocacy piece has helped us in terms of additional, and let me also thank the legislature for giving additional capital money to us. I mean, when I arrived 5 years ago, I was told not to bother to ask for any money for capital. But the last two bienniums, we've got record amounts of dollars to build more facilities and also at the university level, so I appreciate that. But yeah, it's why the pot remains the size it is or shrinks because of the recession, we've got to work even harder to tell our story. And so we learned a lot in our bond campaign in terms of how to do that. So they're going to see a lot more of us in Salem. But thank you.
Jim Francisconi, past and future City Club member. Does that work? President Pulliams, we appreciate your commitment, especially to access and opportunity for everyone. You've talked a lot about your partnership with Portland State, and you've mentioned the Gateway to College program. Can you say a little more about your partnership with Portland Public and Beaverton, and how you see, Carol Smith has been very candid about her large dropout issues, and what's the role of Portland State PCC working with our high schools going forward?
Well, I thank you very much for the question, Jim. I quite honestly see that as far as partnerships are concerned. I love all the other things we do, but our direct feeder are those high school students. That's the quality of the product that we're getting at PCC. Just think if I didn't have to invest in developmental education at PCC, how I could use those dollars to do other things in terms of investing for our students who are operating at the college level. So that is a key priority of mine and at us at PCC. Several things. One, I think we need to have more conversations and more connections, and this does not happen a lot between our faculty and those teachers at the high school. I think if I'm a teacher at a high school and I'm teaching or presenting a curriculum regarding preparing a student for college, I need to hear what's expected at the college, and that conversation is one that we just don't have enough of, so we need those kinds of conversations and partnerships and coming together. Our faculty members, our teachers, number one. I think there is some things we can do in combination in terms of local high school challenges. I don't know about the schedules here, but I've discovered that and when I was in New York, when a student in high school got to their senior year, pretty much half the time is wasted because they pretty much met most of their requirements and they have time on their hands. Why not develop more of these dual enrollment programs while they're waiting in high school to graduate and move on with their lives, that they also work with us to take college level courses. We offer that for those who involve themselves in that. It's a very popular program, and bottom line, it saves money in terms of accumulating college credit while in high school that you can transfer on to University of Oregon or Portland State University. So I think there are a number of things, but it's got to start with us sitting down, working real smart, figuring out how we can work even closer together.
We've come to the end of our time for this week. Please join us on July 24th when Aaron Flynn of the Portland Development Commission will discuss Portland's 5-year economic development plan. And as we close, please join me in expressing our appreciation to today's speaker, PCC District President Preston Pulliams. We're adjourned.